Hello and welcome to another Edinburgh Northern Cockerel cast. For episode 28, we've been presented with an unmissable opportunity to learn about how our club did in those tough post-war years. Our guest is a former club captain from the 1949-50 season at the young age of 19, playing a few years before returning to farming. He has been enjoying watching the Cockerel casts and is very keen to share stories from his time at the club. It is with great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. James Stoddart. Hi, James. How are you doing?
Hi, Jimmy. Just call me Jimmy. The same everybody else does.
Excellent. Excellent. What have you got to drink with us today, Jimmy?
I've got what I drink all the time.
Oh, lovely.
Very famous grouse.
Famous grouse, yes. Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
I
drink a half pint on a Saturday morning. I drink 1/2 pint with it. That's it.
It's like a fair few of some of the current squad players, I can imagine. What about yourself, Jace?
So I've got an Orcadian ale, a Northern Light.
Oh, fantastic.
Never seen it.
And I've got various things to do, like the weekly shop this afternoon. So I've got a herbal tea.
Herbal tea?
I know.
Do you tell lies as well?
Do I tell?
I think you know him too well already.
No.
So, firstly, James, then tell us how you're doing in this lockdown environment. How you're managing?
Oh, doing nothing. I've hardly been out there. I think I've maybe been out the house twice in the last 3-4 months. Somebody's taken me. I've got pals and family that maybe take me for a haircut or take me to the doctors. Or that's all the time I'm out. Otherwise, I stay in the house myself.
Keep it safe.
It's well, I don't know if I don't bother about that, but it's starting to wear and tear a wee bit now. I think some people are taking the worst end of my temper. But we're surviving. We're surviving.
Good.
And I'm glad it was this week, because last Tuesday I got my hair cut, and that's the first haircut I had since the 14th of December last year.
Oh, wow.
Would have been looking pretty wild last week then.
That's it. It looks very sharp. We'll go into the main body of the interview now, Jimmy. Do you want to tell us a bit about your backstory, kind of what you did during your career, where you're from, and so on?
My career would take me for long enough. I bought the piggery, and that was the main reason I had to leave Northern, because I was doing it all myself. I was into Edinburgh every day, collecting the swill of feeding the pigs, and if I'd had an accident to my arm or my leg, I was jiggered, because I had to feed the pigs twice a day, and I had nobody else to do it. So I just had to say, no. I packed. That's why I packed up. That was in 53.
Okay. And how long did you have the pig farm for?
Oh, I only had it I sold it in 67, because I started when meat was decontrolled in 1954. I took over the business that my father had before the war, which he lost. There was no private meat trading. It was all the government that did it, rationing, and it was changed. It stopped in 1954, so the market was free. So I started then as a meat wholesaler in Edinburgh, and at that time I was doing 100 lambs a week and about 80 cattle. And when I finished in 1995, I packed up. I was doing 6,000 lambs a week, and it was I turned it into quite a big business.
I can imagine. And have you always? I know you now live in Dalgety Bay, but have you always been from that kind of part of the world, or?
No. I on my second wife, I've been a bit of a boy. I've had 3 wives and 3 by the ends, but unfortunately I lost 2 of the wives. They're lovely women, the first one was a bloody nuisance. I got rid of her quite quickly, actually. Then the business went on. I had a very good staff. I'd finished up with 2 buyers and another chap in the office, and we did a lot. And one of the lads, the young lad that I started when he was 18, he did so well with me when I packed up. He bought Livingston United, so he's the owner of Livingston United now.
Oh, wow.
Well done. Well, maybe move on to your rugby background then. Can you tell us maybe where you first picked up a ball?
Well, oh gosh. Well, all through my school days, I was a standoff with Stewart's. I was at Stewart's, and I was always standoff and either captain or vice captain until I went into the senior school, and I left. I only stayed 1 year in the senior school. I left school when I was 14.
Okay.
I went to join the livestock auctioneers Swans in Edinburgh for the princely sum of 18 shillings a week, and £45 a year I got for my efforts. And it was a chap, Dempsey, who had been on his national service, and he came back to Swans, and he took me into Northern. He'd been playing for Northern before he went on his national service, and he took me into to going, and that was this. I was there, went down and stayed, and it wasn't very long with Northern. I retired in '63. I went in '47, I think, and then I retired in '53 when I went to the piggery. And that was the extent of my rugby.
Excellent. And obviously, when you talked about playing at school, was there any kind of and being a fly half as well, it's nice to be joined by a fellow fly half on the programme. Was there any kind of representative rugby when you were a kid? Regional stuff?
No, just the junior team, and then I played for the 6th seniors for a year till I left. And at Northern, I played probably 70 times, 70% standoff, the rest scrum half, and very odd times full back. Because it was a hell of a time. I was struggling a wee bit and especially the second. I played for the seconds about, I don't know, half a dozen times or something like that, and then I was in the first.
Very good. So tell us about your experience at Northern then. You said you played for...
Well, the captain when I went was a chap, Bill Dale. He played in the right wing. He was in Aiken and Niven, and he supplied the jerseys and shorts and what have you. And the only other ones I remember was Jack Smith and Neil Mackenzie. They were there. They came to my wedding, the two of them, in '53. I remember quite a few of the other guys. I know Alistair Bryce, a young lad who came from Herets. I don't know what. I think he finished up and went to be a referee after he left Northern. I think it's the same guy.
Right.
And also you had a Dougie Dunsmore came at that time too from Herets. There were 2 young boys that came from Herets. But the biggest change in the club was Bernie Lodge, because when Bernie came, we recognised a good player and a good fellow right away. And early on, he brought quite a few chaps from Bernie was in, as you know, the customs. And he brought quite a few. I didn't realise where all these boys were coming from that joined the club, but it was Bernie that was getting them along. And he brought some good players. But Bernie was great. I enjoyed Bernie's time all the time I was there.
I think Joe Smith, we had on previously mentioned, he was very influential in his time at Northern, with different bits and pieces around the club and players.
Oh, yeah, well, see, I left all before that. we were in the cages when I left in '53. We were still in the cages, and there was no word of a clubhouse then. I know it was hellish going out. I remember once playing at HMS Caledonia across this side, and it was a hell of a wet, cold day. And a chap that played for us only once or twice, Noble, he had a pub in Leith, and he said, we'll go with a motorbike with his bike. So sat on his bike, and we had to come across the ferry, and there was no. We just put our coats on over, and came home on a bike back to my house. And I've never been so bloody cold in all my life. I've frozen. Both jumped into my bath in my house. I went home most of these. I never went to Glenogle Baths. So it was in your thing that I went to Glenogle Baths for afterwards, but I don't remember anybody doing that.
Okay. So, you mentioned the cages there, and the lack of club. Where were the cages?
Up at Rayburn Place, up past the cricket ground and to the end of that road, and we parked there, and then we come in past a pond. There's a pond there, right?
Yeah, we're still there.
When we came into Inverleith Park, there was a building, a circular building, which right up at the top, just inside the gate, had all these cages in them, maybe about 10 or 12 cages or something. It was all circular, but the Northern had the first two on the left. You put one team in a cage. They should have looked like bloody keen and thrown it away at times. That's the way we played, but that was the cages. Just inside that gate.
Oh, okay.
And the pitch was down. Our pitch was down from there. It was the nearest to the road, going in from the Fettage gate.
Yeah.
Turning right away. Where the clubhouse is now. That's where the pitch was.
See.
Okay. And obviously you mentioned the lack of clubhouse. So what did you do for the kind of post-match entertainment?
We went home.
Just went home?
Oh, that was it. It was nothing. Never had any entertainment at all. I mean, well, you had to go and get washed and dressed. Well, where did you go? I don't know. I never heard of anybody going to Glenogle Baths. This went home. I just went home.
I think Neil Leach mentioned you had the odd dinner at the Wee Wendy's restaurant on the Royal Mile. Would that be true? Something you remember?
No. What I was trying to say to him, I think, was I was trying to remember the lunch we had with Llanelli when they came up. We had lunch in this pub. I can't remember its name at all. It was in South St David Street.
Okay.
We had lunch in there, and we went there after the game, and we had a big piss up down in the hotel where they were staying. But that's the only hotel our pub that we really used. We used the wee pub in Stockbridge where we had our selectors meeting every Tuesday night or something in that pub, and any other meeting. But other than that, there was a house. There's halls in Dundas Street, which we used. Oh, we had some great Friday nights there. I remember Bill Beattie standing up trying to tell a joke, and he was absolutely pissed. And I can remember the joke till the day. I've never laughed so much in my life. Not at a joke, but at him. Oh, that was a long time ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, you've a wee memory then about one of our club founders, Tom Henderson. You would have remembered him about the club. Oh,
I remember Tom. Just at the side of the pitch when we were playing.
Yeah.
I don't remember him being at any selectors meeting or any other meeting that he was at or what have you, or what he was in the club. I didn't realise it. It was just he was there. And I knew him well, and he brought his wee laddie with him every Saturday.
See.
But, I don't. Anyway, I may be wrong, but he was a hell of a nice guy. But see, County Rovers, we had an affiliation with County Rovers of some kind.
Okay.
And we trained with them in the winter time in a school up near well, it was up near Boroughmuir School, but it wasn't Boroughmuir School.
Right.
But we trained there during the winter, and we had a wee Heriots guy came and took us. Oh, he was hell of a good, both for his ideas and his what he took on, plus your fitness. But he was very nice and County Rovers joined in with us over that.
I see.
And the only other thing we got from County Rovers was Freddie Collins, and Freddie couldn't take the place until he had 4 pints. He had that before he came down he was usually late for the game, and it was because he'd had all these pints. But the worst I saw him was when we were playing at Llanelli on this big pitch with this big stand and whatever. And Freddie had to told the referee to stop the game for him, and he went to the side of the pitch and was sick. He stopped the game. Oh, that was Freddie. He was never. He was a hell of a chap. Fine. He came from County Rovers.
See.
Because when he came, I moved over from scrum half to stand up, and he took over scrum half. That was some trip. That first trip to Llanelli. There was 3 doctors there for some reason. I don't know. They weren't all members of Northern, but I think 2 of them were pals of one of and these 3 doctors, and they gave us pills before when we arrived at the Llanelli, before we went on the pitch. Well, my God, we might as well been here. Anyway, what happened was we were 18-0 down at half time. And then these pills worked. No, very rarely half the game. We did well in the second half. And I reckon it was these bloody pills we got from the doctors.
I think we can make use of them these days.
The other guy that could run that day was the referee. It was either a conversion or a penalty in front of the post. I can't mind what it was. And they like Northern, towards the end of the season, had these great big balls. The balls were all extended and they were like leather and they were like balloons. And I took this kick, and it was against the wind, and it was right in the front of the goal. And I kicked it, it went up, and it was going like that. And all of a sudden, I realised there was somebody flying past me. And who the hell's that? It was the referee. Jeez, I remember that. Oh.
So there's a chap that I met, I think, once at a club dinner. Craig Frame would have been from around your time. He donated a little bit of money that meant we could redo the bar recently. Do you remember much about Craig?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Craig and I were good pals. I knew him for practically all the time I was there.
Very good.
He played in the seconds when he didn't often, man, but when he did play in the first, it was the funniest thing to see his wee legs going like this amongst all these big forwards. And he was shouting, telling the forwards what to do. Very, very nice chap.
What position did he play?
He was back row. Okay. You wouldn't know because of the size of him. You didn't know whether he was there or whether he wasn't. But he joined and everything, and he was a great wee chap.
Good. Yeah, I heard he was on plenty of nights out, even into his old age. He would have been out with the boys uptown.
Oh, he was in everything we had.
He definitely left a lasting legacy. So you've kind of talked quite a lot about your time at the club. What do you think is or was Northern's unique selling point for you when you were there?
Oh, I think the camaraderie of the boys. I mean, if it wasn't results, if it had been results away ages ago, I think we won one game, one season. I think another game. I think the most we did was win 3 games in a season. But we enjoyed ourselves. It was good. We were struggling for numbers, but we had we did get one or two good guys. Bernie, as we say, Bernie, but there was an English, a tremendous second row. And the only thing was, I thought he was going to get us sent off several times with referees. The way he shouted and swore at the opposition and called them all the bees and them. Get the ball off these bats. He was a great player. And Eric Manders, who came from Royal High, he was a wing forward. He was very good too. It was kind of late on in his career before he came to Norton, but he was a good chap.
Excellent.
But, the back row, but Neil McKenzie was the right wing, and Jack Smith was outside centre. I can't remember it was the inside centre. I was scrum half most of the time. Stand off most of the time, but I either played that or stand off half. Fullback.
Yeah.
I remember we played one game at Fetty's, and that day, for some bloody reason, I was fullback, and it poured the iciest rain the whole blinking game. And of course, being fullback, I hardly ever saw the ball, but it was a terrible position in that weather.
I can emphasise myself actually. I tend to play in the back three, or more recently at fly half. And I remember a game down at Earlston in driving sleet, playing on the wing, like horizontal. I think the ball didn't make it out past probably the scrum half actually. And I generally got into the changing rooms. I don't know if you ever had it wasn't Earlston, sorry, it was Langham. If you ever got a chance to play against Langham down in the Borders, I could barely see my hands. Like it was, they were like sheet white.
Same day, it was terrible.
Yeah, playing the back three is highly overrated.
Did you guys ever? Was Scotland still playing feet at that time? The forwards.
You mean?
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Rocking, do you mean with the feet?
Well, when we played, not only Northern, the whole of Scottish football, whenever a forward got the ball, he put it to his feet and dribbled it. And the rest of the forwards all came in and they dribbled the ball. And I'll tell you this, as scrum half, you got some bloody kicking trying to stop them. You were down in front of them, trying to stop them the ball and get it back. But the noise at Murrayfield, with 40 or 50,000 people shouting "Feet Scotland," what a noise it was, and it was a part of the game. And feet Scotland. Whenever the forwards got the ball, it was down to their feet. They didn't handle it at all. And then when it stopped, the bloody scrum half was supposed to go in the middle and try and get it back. But, that's the biggest change in the game. I didn't know whether it stopped by the time you were playing or what. It was because the Scotland haven't been playing that for years.
I think some of our forwards are actually probably better with the ball at their feet, if I'm honest. They won't forget.
It worked. You know, some forwards were very good at it. They did well.
Right. So, Jimmy, you mentioned a few victories there you got. Is there sort of a favourite game that you played in during your time at Northern?
Oh, yes, quite a few. And I think our trophies, we got so many trophies. It was fantastic. Yeah, we're at Dumfries, we're playing against Dumfries, and Jack Smith came back with a bloody lamppost to put it in the bus. Which I refused, and most trophies we were playing against Dunbar, and I don't know if you ever played at Dunbar when they played in Winterfield Park, and you changed it in the Craigengelt Hotel and went out the garden or through the wall, and that was the pitch there. Did you ever play there? And you changed in the hotel, in the Craigengelt Hotel. So this day we were playing Dunbar and played at Craigengelt Hotel. We stayed and changed in the Craigengelt Hotel. And at night, actually, we went to the pond pavilion at the swimming pool, and we had a superb dance that night before we left there about 11 o'clock in the bus. It was a good night. But on the Sunday morning, I got a phone call from the proprietor of the Crane Gilt, who happened to be a cousin of my mother's. I knew him quite well, Tom Craig. And he says, Jimmy, he says, I've got a wee problem. I don't know if you can help me, but he says, I had an ashtray, a gold ashtray in the bar in the hotel, and it was all connected to the racing. The two boys were the trainers just along the road at Winterfield. They were quite big trainers in Scotland, and there was a racing connection between the hotel and well, Tommy's wife was a wife of one of the trainers. Anyway, to cut the story short, he said, look, it's a very sentimental value, and I wonder if you could get it for me. I said, I'll do my best, Tommy. Yes, no problem. It was the Parrot Bar, it was called, in the hotel. We were staying. We had our meal there. Next week, standing in the cages, I said, look, boys, it was quite something of very sentimental value. It was taken out the Craig Gilt Hotel last week. And it's a sentimental value, and the chap would like it back if possible. Now, nothing will be said. There's no police involved or anything, but see what you can do. So the next Saturday, 2 big bloody holdalls of stuff arrived. So I never really looked in them, but it was all stuff. So Thomas said that I was going down the following Saturday, which was just about Christmas. He'd invited me to the Christmas dance. So we went, my girlfriend, myself, went down to this dance. But I walked into his office with these 2 holdalls. And I said, what the hell is all this? There was stone hot water bottles, rubber hot water bottles, perfume dishes, every bloody thing you could think of off the bedroom things. These 2, he hadn't missed them, but what? Not kidding, there was about 20 things, just 2 big holdalls. But he got his ashtray back anyway. But the answer to that, why I remember that night so much, was sitting at the dinner. There was a wee chap, was a stable boy from the stables. As I told you, there's a big connection between the stables and the hotel. And this wee laddie said to me, do you buy horses? I said, yeah, occasionally, aye. I don't put very much on them because I don't have it to put on me. Right, he says, Barnes Park. He says, in the not the Spring Cup at Doncaster. There was this race, the big race at Doncaster anyway. Oh, I said, thanks very much, but I forgot all about it. But we were standing in our office on the Saturday morning, and we didn't do much on the Saturday morning in the auctioneers. And the lads were looking at the paper, and I said, the paper, oh, the horse must get a horse. Oh, this is the thing with Cup Day. I said, oh, Barnes Park. Oh, I said, I got a tip from the jockey for Barnes Park at a dinner in Craig Gilt. Oh, I looked at it. Well, the boss put a tenner on it, and all the rest of the staff had 5 or 4 or 5. I put £1 on it, and it won at 33-1. So that was my memory of going back to Craig Gilt with that stuff. Got this tip for 33-1. I was very popular.
Yeah, you come back well off. So Northern probably play in regional leagues now, so we sort of play the same teams over and over again. What sort of teams did you play against, Jimmy, then during your time?
Well, we had one game at Dumfries. Yeah. That was where Jack pinched the lamppost. Last week.
Yeah.
Were Ferrante around?
No. Yes, but we didn't play them.
In the Ferrante?
No, not to my knowledge. We never played them.
Yeah.
What I like going away, I remember I was in the first trip. I went to Ilford Wanderers in London. That was one of the first trips.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I remember that was. I was only 15, I think, 16 at the time. And these guys, we never had a meal, never had anything laid on at night. This fellow, Bill Wilson, who was a second row forward, big Heritage guy, he and I said, what we're going to do? So I said, well, I've heard all about this Soho and all what happens down there. What about going to Soho? She says, aye. So the two of us went to Soho, and right enough, we saw all these ladies leaning against the wall, but every 20 yards they were standing against the wall. So I don't know why, but I said, I had a lot of change in my pocket. And as I was going past them, I just put my hand in my pocket and shoot the change, come up off the thing, and I walked past. And I happened to, and they were starting to glower at me. And I looked at each other. Bill Wilson said, "You better stop that. You're going to get murdered." I said, "I'm not going in with you." So we were passing the Piccadilly Circus. There was an awful lot of Yanks in the country at that time. The Yankee soldiers were everywhere, and we were on this side of Soho. I just happened to look across, and there was one woman on each side of the door, and out came a Yank. And when he came out of the pub and kind of stopped, and the two of them came up to him, and he turned around and he just walked on. Well, these two started getting yoked into each other. It was handbags at 2 feet, no handbags at 10 yards. We stood for half an hour watching this fight. It was worth going all the way from down to Piccadilly to see it, I think. That's what I remember about Ilford Wanderers. I don't remember the pitch. I don't remember the game. I don't remember where we went for a meal. What I did, but that was the first trip we did.
And where else? And you mentioned Llanelli. Where else did you go on tour with Northern?
No, well, just a minute. I was going to tell you, must get through this Llanelli thing first. We got the bus as normal away from the Mound, and well, it wasn't very handy for me. I was sitting in the back seat, but it was stopped at Greenlaw, and they came in with crates of beer, and I was sitting next to the bus, and I'd opened the window, right at the wee window at the side, and somebody else. First thing I knew was they pick us up in front for drinking these bottles, and the only way they could get rid of the fuse put in the bottom of the window, and it was coming in my window. I was getting bloody soaked. But anyway, we got there. We got the game over. We got into the bus. Now, at these days, the Wales International was year about with Cardiff and Swansea. If you played the year we were there, it was Cardiff. But the next 2 years on, it would be Swansea. But Swansea to Swansea wasn't bad. But after travelling on the bus all night, coming down straight onto the pitch, playing a game of rugby, then going back onto the bus to go to Cardiff, it was 64 miles. And by the time we got to Cardiff, we couldn't see. I wasn't tall enough. Couldn't get into the ground. Half the boys never saw the game at all. So that was Cardiff. Now, what were you asking? What was
other places you went on tour?
Oh, there was just the two.
Oh. And do you remember hosting any touring sites up here, or?
Well, just Ilford. Llanelli. Yeah. That's when we played up at Redford Barracks and 2 inches. I don't remember entertaining any other team.
So we usually ask then players that you've played alongside, who were your favourite?
I'll tell you, there was a great feeling about the club. They were all great pals, and everybody everybody got on. They had a really good atmosphere. Never we played one for one and all for all. You know, there was no outcasts. You get on with everybody. As far as I know. Oh, I got one fella to come along, Archie Archbold. He'd never had a ball in his hand in his life. Within 3 weeks, he was in the first. He was like a bloody elephant when he got the ball. He was through. He learned very quickly, and he was good. But I enjoyed them all. They were all good lads. I mean, Jack Smith and Neil, I was probably more friendly with them, but I was friendly with them all.
Good. And you mentioned to me before we come on that you were down at the club fairly recently. So you would have seen, obviously, the clubhouse and the new bar and whatnot.
It's tremendous.
Yeah. Obviously, we said, a lot of money from Craig Frame helped with that. Yeah. So I take it then you've seen big improvements in the club since maybe the day of the cages.
Well, the cages, I mean, all the weathers that we played in, and you had to go home and wash and change. You went home in your rugby kit. I mean, I had the car and I drove to the Pinstone. Well, the old man didn't need his car on a Saturday afternoon, so I managed to get it. And it wasn't so bad getting home, but that day we came back on the motorbike from there. Cold. I've never been so cold in my life. Well, you can imagine what it's like in a motorbike at any time sitting in the back, but if you're sitting in a wet rugby suit and covered in mud, how it was all for the good cause.
Yeah. I can only there's only one player I think travels occasionally to a game. He does it on a Vespa. He's got a Vespa scooter, but obviously because we've now got the showers and the facilities and stuff, he doesn't have to get his Vespa home afterwards in the freezing cold. So not that you'd ever catch me in the back of his Vespa. I think that'd be a bit tragic in a nice way.
Well, I see it's terrific. You've got 5 or 6 teams.
Not quite. I think there were days in the 80s, maybe 90s, that they had 5 or 6 teams. We probably put out 2 teams regularly, which we're happy with, and then a gents team the odd day as well.
That's great.
Yeah, we're not doing too bad. So we actually have one listener question in here for you, Jimmy. It's from our honorary club secretary, Neil Leach. He said we would like to invite you to be our guest of honour at our club centenary dinner at Murrayfield next year. We hope you can join us there.
Well, if I can. I'm useless now with this bloody knee, but I go to one dinner in Edinburgh, a cricket thing, but I never played cricket, but I go to their dinner every year and have done for 50 years. I would take it as a great honour, and I could get my way there. At least I've got a pal that takes me to these dinners, and
we'll get an invite for the both of you out then, I'm sure.
But it would honestly, it would be a real honour to have you there if you were able to make it.
I would take it as a great honour, and I think it would be great to see I don't suppose I'd see or know anybody, but I mean Jack Smith and Neil Mackenzie weren't still going about, are they?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Not aware of.
But you know us two now, at least.
Yeah, you always talk to us. Depending what state we're in. So I suppose we're kind of towards the end of the interview now. What are you looking for kind of most about once lockdown's over? Once we're able to go back to normal?
I'd like to get well, we'll be back to the pub. We went. There's 5 or 6 we went to the pub every Saturday, and it was the pub. But the pub was shut, and it's still not open yet. It's a small pub up at Crossgates. I just look forward to life, I suppose, as much as
getting out a wee bit more, maybe,
getting out and round about. But
yeah,
Everybody's good to me.
Good. Yeah, I think Michael's pub opened this or last week, was it, Michael? So you got in.
I did, yeah. I'm much the same as you, Jimmy. I go to the pub every Saturday night rather than during the day because I've got a game to play. Not that it stops me going on the Friday, but yeah. So we've kind of got back to that, which has been really lovely. So I generally hope that you get back in the pub soon.
Well, the boys have been coming here the last 2 or 3 weeks. But,
oh, fantastic!
It's supposed to be. I got hell from this bloody woman. I had a big table outside and I had 10 of them, the 10 boy chaps there. And his go, how did you ask my husband take these? I was thinking about our grandchildren and if he gets it's going to give it to our grandchildren. And I said, I'm not getting his hand and pulling him in. They can stay if he wants to do what the hell he likes. Didn't get on to me. So, but, this one and her mother are very good. They pick me up most Sunday afternoons and we have a meal at my daughter's on a Sunday night.
Lovely.
So I at least eat once a week. No, I've got eaters coming in, but they're a bloody nuisance. Sometimes they come at 12 o'clock in the morning to give you your breakfast.
Oh dear.
I say, oh, that's terrible.
Good stuff. Thank you anyway, Jimmy. Next time on the Cockerel Cast, we'll be talking to Paddy Doran, possibly his brother as well. We'll see, to discuss how living outside of the city is stunting their time at the bunker. For now, I'm Jason Thompson. He's Mike Mawdsley, and once again, big thank you to Jimmy for getting in touch and to share your invaluable insights to earlier days of the best club ever. Take care, and we hope to meet again in person at the Centenary dinner.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy.
I have enjoyed it.
It's been an absolute honour. Thank you.
Definitely has.
Cheers.
Take care.